Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so handling CAPTCHAs from Bunny.net Edge scripting. It can honestly look incredibly simple at first glance. You grab a site key, fire off a solve request, get your token back, and bam, you continue your workflow. Sounds totally straightforward, right? But as we're going to dive into today, there's a real deceptive simplicity here. The hard truth is this: CAPTCHA solving can work flawlessly in your quick test notebook, but it will absolutely fall apart the second your Edge workflow runs unattended. We're dealing with a massive divide between testing and actual production. Think about it. In a happy path test environment where you're just using manual triggers, grabbing that token is a breeze. But in production, that exact same flow is probably running inside a scheduled job, a worker pool, your CI pipeline, or some automated cron job. Out in the wild, your token might just get unexpectedly rejected out of nowhere. Or worse, a poorly designed polling loop could just run endlessly, completely draining your resources. So, what's our actual goal here? It's not just to hack together a quick script to solve one single CAPTCHA. No, our true objective is to build a Bunny.net Edge workflow that's stable, observable, and genuinely easy to maintain for whichever developer has to touch it next. We want robust infrastructure. To make that shift from a fragile script to a rock-solid, production-ready system, we've got a 7-point operational checklist. We're going to cover capturing exact inputs, submitting cleanly, controlling polling, keeping that session context identical, tracking our success metrics separately, capping retries, and finally monitoring the right metrics. Let's break these down. All right, stepping into the initial pipeline logic. Step 1, capture exactly what the solver actually needs and nothing more. Seriously, don't just collect random page data. You need to explicitly confirm the CAPTCHA type, the site key, the page URL, and the action value. Getting these inputs wrong just creates absolute nightmare debugging paths before you even hit the solver. Once you've got that, step 2 is submitting the task cleanly, and step 3 is setting up controlled polling. Let's actually pause on that submission step for a second, because how you handle errors here is make or break. Do not, and I mean do not, ignore failed tasks. If a response comes back unsuccessful, log the entire response safely, shoot it over to your monitoring channels, and then explicitly stop the workflow. Don't just silently let it continue and hope for the best. Now for the polling. You really don't want to poll too fast, but you also can't afford to wait forever. A highly practical pattern is to wait about 15 seconds before your very first poll, then check in every 5 seconds. And, this is crucial, enforce a strict 120-second hard timeout. You have to cap each task instead of just leaving them hanging open-ended. Okay, let's move to what is probably the single most critical and definitely the most common point of failure: session context. By definition, this is the exact browser context, HTTP client, or cookie jar state that triggered the initial CAPTCHA challenge in the first place. This right here is exactly where so many workflows completely fall apart. You might successfully solve the challenge, sure, but if that CAPTCHA was triggered in one browser context, and then you try to apply the solved token somewhere entirely different, downstream verification is going to instantly reject it. It has to be a perfect match, the exact same challenge, the exact same session, and the exact same continuation path. No exceptions. Because here's the thing. A solved CAPTCHA absolutely does not mean the full workflow succeeded. It's actually staggering to see, but you could legitimately have a solver success rate of 99%, while your actual downstream workflow success is sitting at a dismal 40%. You have to track these two things completely separately. If there's a big gap, you're almost certainly looking at session mismatches or bad parameters. Next up is your retry budget. Look, retries are super useful, but infinite retries, they just hide real defects and chew right through your account balance. You need to cap your total attempts, use an exponential backoff strategy, and most importantly, log every single terminal failure. You want to avoid those runaway polling loops at all costs. To spot regressions way before your users ever notice them, you need very specific metrics on your dashboard. You want to see your first solve latency sitting under 25 seconds. That tells you the integration is healthy. A 95% solver success rate means your inputs are actually matching the challenge. But the big one? Measure the cost per accepted workflow, not just the cost per solve. You need to know how much each completed successful action is actually costing you. And just to put this into perspective, roughly 90% of support tickets for this exact kind of integration come from super simple mistakes. Mistakes that are entirely 100% preventable if you just follow a structured approach like this.
So really, we need a major mindset shift here. The finish line is not the token. I'll say it again, a solve token means absolutely nothing if the downstream verification kicks it back. The true finish line is downstream acceptance. Let's do a quick rundown of the absolute do-nots for deployment. Do not apply a token from a mismatched session. Do not just mindlessly retry every single error you hit. Do not ignore CAPTCHA family changes. So if the target page swaps its CAPTCHA type, you have to update your task type to match. And please, whatever you do, never ship your integration without setting up proper logs and alerts.
Time for a quick rapid-fire FAQ. First up, why does a seemingly valid, perfectly solved CAPTCHA still fail? Well, almost every single time, it's because that token got applied in the wrong session context. Your initial inputs were slightly off, or the downstream requests simply rejected the mismatch.
Second question, how do you actually keep this stable in a chaotic production environment? It all comes down to strict operational discipline. You need clear, hard-coded polling rules, tightly capped retries, and proactive alerts set up for any time that gap between solver success and workflow success starts to widen.
And third, what is the very first thing you should check when it inevitably breaks? Drop everything and immediately verify your site key, the page URL, the exact CAPTCHA type, your session context, and that downstream acceptance status. Checking those 5 things first will point you straight to the root cause almost every time.
Now, it's really important we quickly clarify the safe scope of this explainer. Workflows like this are designed strictly for and should only ever be deployed in owned, client-authorized, or contractually permitted environments. The goal here is stability and predictability for your own automated workflows, not circumventing protections where you don't have explicit permission to operate.
So, bringing it all together, the core takeaway is super simple. Treat CAPTCHA solving on the Bunny.net Edge as real, robust production infrastructure, not just a quick throwaway script. Validate those exact inputs, keep that session perfectly consistent, put a hard cap on your retries, track real downstream acceptance, and aggressively review the whole workflow before you ship it.
I'm going to leave you with one final thought today. Before you ship your next Bunny.net Captcha workflow, take a step back and ask yourself, are you merely measuring a solved token, or are you actually measuring a fully completed, successful workflow? Build for the latter, and I promise you, your edge infrastructure will be infinitely stronger.